I never imagined the woman I married would look me in the eyes and tell me she wanted other men. It was an ordinary Thursday evening. The air smelled of garlic and rosemary from the pasta I had cooked, the soft hum of jazz playing in the background. Amelia sat across from me at the dinner table, her long auburn hair cascading over one shoulder, her emerald eyes locked onto mine. She looked nervous but determined, her fingers tracing circles on the rim of her wine glass. "I've been thinking," she said, breaking the comfortable silence. I smiled, expecting something lighthearted, maybe a vacation idea or a new project at work. "About what?" Her lips parted slightly before she exhaled, as if summoning the courage to speak. "About us. About our marriage." I put my fork down, sensing something serious. "Okay." She hesitated, then, with unwavering boldness, she spoke the words that would change everything. "I want to sleep with other men." At first, I thought I had misheard her. The words hung in the air, suffocating the warmth in the room. My mind tried to process the statement, but it felt like trying to grab smoke. "What?" I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Amelia straightened, as if she had been waiting for this moment, rehearsing it in her mind. "I don't want to be confined to just one person anymore. I love you, I do, but I need more." A bitter laugh escaped my lips before I could stop it. "More?" She nodded, taking a careful sip of wine. "I feel trapped. I need excitement, passion, the thrill of something new." I leaned back, crossing my arms over my chest. "And you expect me to just be okay with this?" She sighed, exasperated, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "I don't want to lie to you. I could have done this behind your back, but I'm being honest. I don't want to cheat. I want an open marriage." Open marriage. The words tasted foul, like something rotten in my mouth. "Amelia," I said slowly, gripping the edge of the table, "have you already done this?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. I slammed my palm against the table, making her flinch. "Tell me the truth." Her shoulders sagged and she looked away. "His name is Daniel." The name hit me like a bullet to the chest. Not just an idea. Not just a fantasy. A real man. A man who had already touched my wife, already stolen something sacred from our marriage. Rage burned in my veins, but I forced myself to stay calm. Exploding wouldn't change the reality of what she had done. "How long?" "Does it matter?" she countered, her tone defensive. "Of course it matters," I snapped. "It tells me whether you've been lying to me for weeks, months, or longer." She swallowed hard. "A few months." Months. For months she had been coming home to me, kissing me, lying in bed beside me, all while betraying everything we had built together. I exhaled slowly, rubbing my temple. "So, what now? You expect me to just accept this?" "I was hoping you'd understand." I let out a dry laugh. "Understand? You want me to be okay with my wife screwing other men?" She frowned. "It's not just about that. I want to be free to experience life without guilt. And I don't want to lose you." A sickening mix of fury and disbelief twisted inside me. "You don't want to lose me, yet you've already thrown away our marriage?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, her touch suddenly feeling foreign. "I don't want to hurt you, but I need to be true to myself," she whispered. I stared at her, searching for the woman I married, the woman who once promised me forever. But all I saw was a stranger who had made her choice. And now it was my turn. I stood, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "All right, Amelia. If this is what you want, then so be it." Her brows furrowed slightly, as if she expected a fight, a desperate plea for her to stay. But I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. Instead, I smiled. Because I already knew exactly how to make her regret it. If Amelia wanted freedom, I would give it to her. But not in the way she expected. The morning after her confession, I woke up before sunrise. I didn't linger in bed like I used to, waiting for her to cuddle against me. I didn't kiss her on the forehead before leaving for work. Instead, I moved through the house like a ghost, distant and unbothered. If she wanted to live as if I didn't matter, then I would show her what that truly felt like. At breakfast, she tried to act normal. "Are you working late tonight?" she asked, sipping her coffee. I flipped through the morning newspaper, barely glancing up. "Maybe. I have plans." She blinked. "Plans?" I nodded but didn't elaborate. Let her wonder. Let the doubt creep in. For the next few weeks, I mastered the art of indifference. I stopped asking where she was going or who she was with. When she came home late, I acted as if I hadn't noticed. And when she left for her dates with Daniel, I didn't flinch. At first, she seemed relieved, as if she had gotten exactly what she wanted. But then, something shifted. She started watching me more closely, trying to gauge my reactions. When I dressed sharper for work, wearing cologne I hadn't worn in years, her gaze lingered. When I came home late without an explanation, she would casually ask how my evening had been. One night, she finally voiced what had been eating at her. "You've been going out a lot," she remarked, arms crossed as I loosened my tie. I smirked. "Notice that, did you?" She frowned. "Where do you go?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "Funny. You never asked that before." Her jaw tightened. "I just didn't think you'd move on so quickly." I stepped closer, letting the silence stretch between us. "And yet you expected me to sit here, waiting for you to come back?" She didn't respond. Instead, she looked away, suddenly uncomfortable in the very scenario she had created. But I wasn't done. Escalation. If Amelia thought I would remain the same man she had left behind, she was mistaken. I reconnected with old friends, spent time at the gym, and took better care of myself. I exuded confidence, something she hadn't seen in years. But most importantly, I started dating. It wasn't hard. Women noticed me. Maybe they always had, but I had been too blind, too devoted to Amelia to see it. The first time I came home late wearing a different cologne, Amelia was waiting in the kitchen, pretending to scroll through her phone. I could feel her eyes burning into me as I poured myself a drink. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice carefully controlled. I smirked, taking a sip. "Out." Her grip on her phone tightened. "With who?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "Now that's an interesting question, considering your new arrangement." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I just want to know." I leaned against the counter, watching her carefully. "Why? You wanted freedom. You have it." She swallowed but didn't say anything. Instead, she turned and left the room. But I saw it, the flicker of doubt in her expression. The first sign of regret. That was all the confirmation I needed. The other woman. Enter Elena. I met her at a networking event for work. She was striking, long dark hair, piercing blue eyes, an air of confidence that pulled people toward her. But what captivated me the most was how she made me feel. Unlike Amelia, she didn't make me feel like an option. She made me feel wanted. Our conversations were effortless, our chemistry undeniable. And when I finally took her on a date, I realized something. Being with her felt more real than anything I had shared with Amelia in years. The first night I kissed Elena, something inside me changed. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about moving forward. Cracks in Amelia's fantasy. One evening, as I was heading out, Amelia stopped me at the door. "You look nice," she said, her voice softer than usual. I adjusted my watch. "Thanks." She hesitated before asking, "Are you seeing someone?" I smirked. "Does it matter?" Her face fell slightly. "I guess not." But it did matter. I could see it in the way she shifted uncomfortably, in the way her nails tapped anxiously against the doorframe. Amelia had assumed she held all the power, that I would either accept her decision or beg her to stay. But now, she was realizing the truth. She wasn't the only one who could move on. That night, she went out with Daniel. But when she returned, I noticed something different. There was no excitement in her eyes. No lingering happiness. She sat on the couch, staring at the floor, lost in thought. And I knew. The fantasy she had chased was starting to crumble. Amelia wanted freedom. What she didn't expect was the cost of it. At first, she had been glowing, drunk on the thrill of something new. But as the weeks passed, the excitement dulled. The sparkle in her eyes faded. She came home quieter, lost in thought, and I knew, whatever she had with Daniel wasn't what she had imagined. But I didn't care. I had my own life now. My own happiness. And I made sure she saw it. The turning point. One evening, I arrived home late, a satisfied smirk on my lip. Elena had kissed me at the door of her apartment, whispering that she couldn't wait to see me again. Everything about her felt effortless, intoxicating. But the moment I stepped inside my house, I sensed something off. Amelia was sitting in the dimly lit living room, her wine glass barely touched. Her usual arrogance was gone, replaced by something foreign, uncertainty. I hung up my jacket, glancing at her. "You're up late." She hesitated before speaking. "I broke things off with Daniel." I raised an eyebrow. "That was fast." She let out a dry laugh. "I thought it would be different." I shrugged. "Turns out the grass isn't always greener, huh?" She looked up, her green eyes searching mine. "He wasn't you." I almost laughed at the irony. She had walked away from our marriage, from me, chasing the idea of excitement and passion. But now, standing at the edge of her fantasy, she realized what she had thrown away. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. "So, what now? You expect me to just take you back?" Her lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't considered the possibility that I wouldn't. I don't know." I stepped closer, my voice low. "That's the thing, Amelia. I do know. Regret creeps in." The shift was subtle at first. Amelia started paying more attention to me, watching me when she thought I wasn't looking, finding small excuses to start conversations. She asked about my nights out, who I was seeing. She even tried cooking dinner for us again, as if pretending things could go back to normal. But it was too late. One night, as I was getting ready to leave, she appeared at the bedroom door. "Are you going to see her?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I smirked, adjusting my watch. "Yes." She swallowed hard. "Is it serious?" I turned to face her fully. "Why do you care?" She fidgeted, her fingers twisting together. "I don't know. I miss you." I let out a slow breath, stepping closer until I was inches from her. "You miss me?" I repeated, my voice laced with amusement. She nodded, her eyes filled with something dangerously close to desperation. "I made a mistake, okay? I thought I wanted something different, but I see now that—" I silenced her with a laugh. A bitter, humorless laugh that made her flinch. "You don't get to say that now," I said coldly. "You wanted other men, Amelia. You chose this." Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel sorry for her. Not even a little. She reached for me, but I stepped back. "You don't get to touch me," I said. "Not after everything." Her face crumpled. "Please. I still love you." I shook my head, a smirk playing on my lips. "And I loved you. Past tense." She gasped softly at my words, as if the realization was finally sinking in. She had lost me, and there was nothing she could do to fix it. Amelia had expected me to crumble, to wait for her, to remain the man she had discarded so easily. But now, standing before her, watching the realization settle in, I saw it, the regret, the sheer agony of knowing she had lost everything. But I wasn't done yet. She had played her game. Now it was my turn. The final blow. The next morning, I acted as if our conversation had never happened. I went about my routine with ease, humming softly as I prepared my coffee, texting Elena, making sure Amelia saw the undeniable truth. My life was better without her. She watched me carefully, eyes filled with an unspoken plea. But I ignored it. She tried to bring back familiarity, reminiscing about old memories, laughing at jokes we once shared. But I shut her down every time. Then, one evening, I decided to deliver the final blow. I came home late, the scent of Elena's perfume still lingering on my skin. Amelia was waiting in the kitchen, her arms wrapped around herself. "Did you have fun?" she asked, her voice small. I smirked. "More than I ever did with you." She flinched but quickly masked it with forced indifference. "Are you serious about her?" I leaned against the counter, taking my time. Then, with deliberate cruelty, I said, "Yes." Her breath hitched. You don't mean that." I stepped closer, looking her dead in the eyes. "I do. And guess what, Amelia? She's everything you're not. She values me, respects me, wants only me." Tears streamed down her face. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I should have never." I cut her off with a chuckle. "Too little, too late." She broke down then, sobbing into her hands, but I felt nothing. No pity, no desire to console her. Because this was the price she paid for her betrayal. Walking away for good. The next day, I packed my bags. I had already signed a lease for a new place, something fresh, something that didn't have the stench of Amelia's mistakes lingering in the air. When she saw the suitcase by the door, her face paled. "You're leaving?" she asked, as if she couldn't believe it. I nodded. "For good." She stepped closer, desperation dripping from every movement. "No. Please, don't do this. We can fix this." I let out a breath. "Amelia, we're beyond fixing." She shook her head, grasping my wrist. "I'll do anything." I pulled my arm away. "You already did. That's the problem." With that, I walked out. I didn't look back. Not when she called my name. Not when her sobs filled the air. She had made her choice. And I had made mine. The sweet taste of revenge. Life without Amelia was exhilarating. I had Elena, a woman who truly saw me. I had peace, clarity, and the satisfying knowledge that Amelia was left drowning in her own regret. A few months later, I got a text from her. "I miss you. Can we talk?" I smirked, shaking my head. I didn't reply. She was nothing more than a lesson now. A memory of what happens when you take love for granted. And as I kissed Elena that night, pulling her close, I knew one thing for certain. Amelia would regret losing me for the rest of her life.